It's interesting how the hype thing goes, right? It's like a month or so ago, it was like, hey, that's amazing. It's real. All copywriters are going to be gone in 10 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like people are like, yeah, but the copy sucks.
What do you think about college now that you like today? For example, if you had a kid,
yeah.
would you want them to go to college?
I'd go back and forth on it a lot. I think if I had an 18-year-old right now, I would most likely be trying to teach him or her marketing stuff. I'd be like, let me teach you copy. Let me teach you entrepreneurship as best you. Let me teach you how to write. Because, I've been through a lot of personal shit the last decade and before that. But being able to write copy is what saved my life, kept me going, paid my bills, bought my house, got me my wife, all those other kind of things. So I think I'd be doing that. As far as like, you look at the economics of college these days, it's like, a lot of kids are getting out of college with $150,000 in debt. We do financially well enough. We probably would not have a child have to deal with that, but it's still whatever happens. It's just so much pressure having that over your head. Like I graduated college with 15 grand in debt, and that took me a long time to pay off. It wasn't until I started making like 200 grand a year that I paid that off. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. If I had a kid that wanted to be a doctor or something, sure. But I'm also like, AI is going to take over a lot of more rote kind of things in the future. I wouldn't even know what to tell a kid to study. Like if they said, hey, I want to go become a computer programmer, I'm like, is that even really going to be a thing in 20 years? Like, I don't know. So I think my thing now, if I had kids, I would just be like, figure out how to sell stuff. There's always going to be a need for people to know how to sell stuff, whatever it is.
Yeah, it does feel like salespeople is one of those things that AI supports, but doesn't replace.
Yeah, when it's a personality gig, right? It's about like great salespeople it's all about charisma. It's all about understanding people. It's the thing I think about a lot because I look at copy that is written by AI. Harlan Kilstein was posting about this because it's interesting how the hype thing goes, right? It's like a month or so ago, it was like, hey, that's amazing. It's real. All copywriters are going to be gone in 10 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like people are like, yeah, but the copy sucks. You're like, but it doesn't sell. And for Facebook ads, subject lines, things like that, I think it's great, but it isn't there yet as far as actually writing interesting copy. And I don't think it's going to be there as far as like coming up with ideas. I look at products I came up with over the years, like Text the Romance Back or the Pig Method, things like that. I'm like, what would I even do to have AI figure that out? Right? Because like my angle in particular is I always try to think of things that people haven't already done. Nobody was doing the texting thing when I came out with Text the Romance Back or Text Your Ex Back. So I'm fascinated. I'll be really fascinated to see where we are in 5 or 10 years with all the AI stuff. I think it's going to be, people always make predictions. Well, my favorite thing about getting a little older is I don't have black and white thinking anymore, and I don't need to be right about things anymore. Right? I don't need to be like, I think this is going to happen and be blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be like, I think it might be this. I think it might be that. We'll see what happens. But my ego is not so attached to it. And I find it hilarious that so many people make these incredible predictions, right? They're just like, everybody's an expert. Everybody's like, I'm an AI expert now, and here's what's going to happen. I'm like, you don't know shit. You don't know shit, and I don't know shit. I look at experts and I'm like, they know slightly more shit than you or I do, but even they're not fucking sure.
But the whole thing about predicting, especially when you're predicting a negative, isn't that like a marketing technique? Like, isn't that what they do in the financial space? It's like, oh, the dollar's going to collapse tomorrow.
Yep. But here's the funny thing. It's just like with QAnon or anything else, right? I read a book about QAnon recently. I find cults really, really interesting. And it's like, they just keep moving the goalposts, right? It's like the storm is coming tomorrow. If you know anything about it, the storm is supposedly when Trump is like going to order the army to go out and arrest and hang all of these Democrat pedophiles, right? Because all Democrats are pedophiles according to QAnon. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But it also makes sense because if you make if you make the enemy into pedophiles, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can murder them. You can hate them. They're essentially demons. But they've been talking about this storm thing for years, and they're like, it's going to happen on May 6th. It's going to happen on May 6th. That's when it's going to happen. Everybody get ready. Tell your family. Sell all your shit. It's going to happen on May 6th. It's May 6th. Nothing happened. It's going to happen on June 6th. We know it's going to happen on June 6th. June 6th is going to be, June 6th comes. It doesn't happen. It's going to be, and they just keep moving it and moving it and moving it and moving it and moving it, which is interesting. And it makes sense from a psychological standpoint, from a sunk cost fallacy standpoint, really, right? Because you're like, you've committed to this belief. Yeah. Same thing with cults that are like, Hail Bob Common is going to pick us up and we're going to go to whatever else. But it's also fucking insane. But it is, but from a marketing standpoint, you're totally right. If you want to make a bold prediction of what's going to happen next week, it doesn't actually matter if you're wrong, right? Like, it doesn't matter people will not even notice. They won't even pay attention because they're so committed to this idea of this next big thing. It's really interesting. The older I get, the more I live, the more I see the world repeat the same fucking mistakes we've always made. Like, look at Ukraine. I mean, you're from Ukraine, right? But like, if you spent 10 minutes studying World War II and you look at what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, you're like, it's the same shit. It's the same fucking thing over and over again that we always do with torture and war crimes and all the horrible things that people do to each other.
Yeah, but with that, I think today we live in a pretty safe time.
Overall, oh yeah. I mean, compared to 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever, I completely agree with you. But I do think that this idea that we used to have, I think that like, humanity was going to move past our baser, more evil, racist, judgmental impulses is kind of bullshit. Like, I don't see that at all. I think we're regressing toward the mean of hate right now, which is pretty fucking annoying overall.